evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum, and you're watching the Theo Nightly video for election night, November 6th, 2018. And that's exactly what we'll be planning for, is what to look for overnight and how to set up Wednesday's trading session in terms of levels, what to expect, our dominant thesis, alternate thesis, and how we will look at the election results and then put those into individual trades on the next trading session. We'll first start by looking at the S&P futures, just making a note of spots, markers, levels, and creating a simple dominant or alternate thesis. If we did not know that there was an election, if we had no idea that the election was taking place tonight, well, we would have to say the market is bear flagging into resistance, the 200-day simple moving average, 20-day exponential average, and that's roughly the 2760 point. This is again the ES futures. Taking a look at volume, we would see that volume is declining, similar to what we saw earlier in October on a bear market rally or a bear swing flag up into resistance on weaker volume, and that led to a sell swing lower. That's the thought process in isolation. Clearly, we're not in isolation. We know that Wednesday will be the election results. Also, Thursday will be a Fed day. So we have two major events that can be catalyst for big events, big trend days, and volatility for the remainder of the week. Let's just talk about isolation. Using that, the dominant thesis would be a departure or a sell swing that triggers into our resistance levels and then gives a trend line break for a short sell opportunity. I think a lot of traders in isolation might be thinking that, especially given the weakness in volume. The alternate thesis, and as traders we have to plan that, because if something should happen but doesn't, it often leads to a larger than expected move. We know that because the election could result in a strong bull candidate for the next trading session. And that gives us a bullish alternate thesis pathway trading to the upside if we see the market gap and go above 2775, 2780, and that could push us all the way to 2800 or 2811, which is our gravity spot. So look for that to happen potentially in one trading session. We think that if the election results are certain, or if we know them clearly who took the House, who took the Senate, and the remainder of the election results, if it's a clear-cut outcome, you might see the market react bullishly. If, however, they're still counting ballots past midnight and we don't have a clear winner, that could be the catalyst for our bear swing and some bearish volatility stepping into the market. Markets like certainty. Markets don't like uncertainty. We can also look at levels from other indexes. This would be the Dow futures, just shy of 25.6 in terms of the 50-day moving average and prior price pivots. Also see the same signature with bearish volume in the Dow futures. Nasdaq, take a look at it. It's into resistance as well, same signature of weaker volume, and its pivot points would be 7.1 and roughly 750 in terms of the Nasdaq level, 7,100 and about 70.50. Bear play to the downside, alternate thesis, bullish breakout to the upside. Finally, the Russell. It's into our spot, which is the 20-day exponential, and a hand-drawn trend line. That's about 1550 or 1560 in the Russell. So however you plan to trade the next trading session, be wary of the isolation, which means that we don't know the election's going to happen. That would be a potential bear flag into resistance with reversal candles and weak volume. But the alternate thesis, we know there's an election, could be the catalyst to take out some bearish stop losses, trigger bulls into the market, and push the markets higher. The Russell would play potentially towards 1600. The Nasdaq might play higher up towards 7220, maybe just 7200. And the Dow futures, they're already at their resistance points. Look for a potential move to 2600. And the ES, again, up to about 2800. Now, as we take a look at those levels, that's our plan, but we don't trade in isolation. It is helpful to go back and take a look at what's happened in the past. And we'll just take a brief moment to look at the 2016 election mainly focusing on the futures after hours, after market close, into the election results, and then what happened the next trading session. That's the closest way to think about today's midterms with those of 2014. Let's first take a look at the 2014 midterm election. That was held on Tuesday, November 4th, 2014. So just like today, we expected a range day or a consolidation session. As today, so was November 4th, 2014, which was a consolidation range session, setting up for the election of 2014. These are the futures as we cross over into the market close and after hours. This is after the results come in, and it was clear what the results were. And the result was a bullish pop, and continued action to the upside after the election results became clear. And as the night turned on to midnight, pushing into Wednesday, we still saw additional volatility and swings tradable in both directions, but a continued upside drift once again once it was clear of the outcome of the election. The next trading session opened up with a gap. Makes sense. That was a big overnight move. And then additional bullish action to close on the highs. Pulling the perspective back, we have the election day, the overnight activity, and then Wednesday after the election day. Still was volatile, but still was bullish. And the market had gapped up and continued to close at the highs. We'll now take a look at the 2016 presidential election, and that was really the last time we had a major surprise in terms of the polls, the forecast, and the outcome. And this is the overnight session going into election day 2016. Market had a bullish rally up, but closed with a consolidation with range behavior, low to high, high to low, into the 2136 level. Still, things were optimistic, bullish as the results began coming in, but things turned quickly when uncertainty entered the picture, when a surprise took place. Bigger moves tend to happen when market participants and funds are surprised. So President Trump began to take over the leads in the Electoral College, and as results continued to trickle in, and results continued to show him winning key swing states, it became clear he was going to win the election. Now that, I would argue, is more uncertainty as opposed to who or what is winning the election. Republicans, Democrats, it's more so, well, that wasn't what we expected. And so market forces typically calibrate and recalibrate quickly. That was a dislocation, and that sent the market shares plunging, in this case, from 2150 over 100 points to 2030. And we had some stabilization, and once it was clear, yes, he will be the president, the markets recovered. So it wasn't so much who or what and what party. I think it was more towards uncertainty. Wow, that's a surprise. Toward certainty. And we hoped we didn't have to go into a 2000 style recount. When it became clear that was not going to be the case, that he did decisively win, then we had the market stabilize, rally overnight, and then trend to the upside the next trading session. That's still what I want to focus on for today as we go into tonight and Wednesday morning and the rest of Wednesday. Look for the concept of certainty, and we know who's going to win. We know that relatively early. That could be a bullish catalyst for the Wednesday's trading session. Or if we don't, if the Senate, if the House, if we don't quite know who's winning, and if we go into Wednesday with recounts pending, well, that could be your bearish catalyst to play the dominant thesis, range departure, and volatility session to the downside. Otherwise, if things are certain, we'll play bullishly. But either way, watch the markets overnight, watch pre-market activity, and of course, the open. Take care. This is Corey Rosenblum bringing you your Theo Nightly video for election night, November 6th, 2018.